thought Week 11 was one of the best weeks of football that we've seen in a while. We had a lot of great games. I believe 6 of the 7 games in the 1 o'clock became down to one possession games, with a lot of them being game-winning field goals. Didn't get to see too many blowouts and got to see a lot of good players play at their best, so I'm going to talk about it. And let's go through every game and recap each one. So first and foremost, my Pittsburgh Steelers took down the Cincinnati Bengals 34-12. I know that a lot of you guys don't want to hear my Steelers analysis because I can go on and on about the Steelers, but I honestly was very happy with this win. Couple concerns first and foremost. Aaron Rodgers did not return in the second half of this game due to a left wrist injury. I believe that we will find out this morning how severe that injury is and how long Aaron Rodgers will miss. I will say though, for about a 2-month stretch in the offseason, all Steelers fans believed that Mason Rudolph was going to be our starting quarterback, and he came in and played very well. He actually threw 2 horrible passes to start 2 terrible passes to start the game when he first came in. And then he had a really long 3rd and 11 conversion to Pat Freiermuth, and after that it looked like he was in rhythm. Mason Rudolph came in and went 12 for 16, 127 yards and a touchdown. On top of that, by the way, Jaylen Warren also went down with an injury. You never want to see the starting quarterback and running back of your team go down with injuries, but the Steelers have shown that offensively they have depth all year long. When Warren missed the game against the Vikings, Gainwell went off. Gainwell had another incredible game, whether it was Rudolph or Rodgers throwing him the ball. Kenneth Gainwell, 7 catches, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darnell Washington had one of the coolest plays of the week where he stiff-armed his first defender, ran through another guy. It was a great play up the left sideline. And my biggest thing was the Steelers defense started this game in zone coverage, which if you guys remember that first matchup when we lost 33-31 against the Bengals on that Thursday night football game, they killed us with those 11, 12-yard out routes. Jamar Chase caught the most catches he's ever had in a game. And in this game, 3 catches, 30 yards. 10 targets, 3 catches. Joey Porter Jr. was all over him in the middle of the field. The zone coverage was really helping us read Joe Flacco's eyes as opposed to trying to cover the receivers, which I thought was a very big mental switch for the Steelers overall. Now, I will say, Chase Brown must be the kryptonite of the Steelers' run defense because Steelers' run defense has been really, really good all year. Somehow we held Jonathan Taylor to 43 yards, but yet Chase Brown gets back-to-back 90-yard-plus games on us, which Chase Brown has not had a great year all year. But honestly, this was a very game-managed, controlled game by the defense. We didn't really allow the Bengals to get into much rhythm. We both had good starting drives. I thought the Steelers' starting drive to go down and score was great. To start that game to Kenneth Gainwell on that little flip pass, and then Joe Flacco went right back and threw it to T. Higgins for a beautiful touchdown. But outside of that, Bengals were not able to get into any sort of rhythm for the rest of the game. I want to give a big shout out to Kyle Duggar. He is the guy that we traded for with the New England Patriots earlier this year. He's only on a 1-year deal, but he came in and got not only that pick 6 did he make, but he also had another play that, in my opinion, could have easily been a pick 6 that went right through his hands. So back-to-back times we had a safety in the correct position to make pick 6 plays, and one of them he actually executed the play, which made me really happy. And then, last but not least, Noah Fant's going to the ground at the end of the game. The game's basically over, and James Pierre picks up the fumble and runs it back into the end zone. So shout out to the Steelers defense for having the best performance out of all the fantasy football defenses. If you're a big fantasy guy, the Steelers defense, I can say, carried me to my win, so I feel very happy about that. But the injuries to Rodgers and Warren are going to impact us a little bit. We have a Chicago Bears team coming up next who's on a roll right now, keeps winning games, so I'm very excited to see how that game is. Really, really hoping Aaron Rodgers will play in that game. But if not, I don't feel that bad about Mason Rudolph suiting up for a couple games this year. I think Rudolph may have had one of those games, though, that he plays really well in the second half of a win and might, if he has to start against the Bears, really struggle early on. I could see that happening, but we don't really have another choice. When you bring in a 41-year-old quarterback to run your team, you got to believe in the backup a little bit with the injury concerns. So shout out to the Steelers for that 22-point win. It was really a big defensive game without our turnovers being that crazy. So that makes me happy to only see us really get 2, I believe, turnovers on this game. But they were both turned into touchdowns. And Steelers have always been a turnover or bust defense. And if we're going to get a couple turnovers late in the game, we're probably going to win. We got to see out in Madrid the Miami Dolphins take down the Commanders in probably the worst game of the week. 16-13 win for the Dolphins. Shout out Devon Achane. He was the winner of the poll that I ripped earlier. I don't know how many of you guys voted on that poll. Actually, I'm going to check that out real quick. 5 people voted, and 2 of you, Gardog and M. Silvestro, were correct. Devon Achane led the NFL so far this week in rushing yards with 120 yards. Now, I will say, shout out Ollie Gordon for coming in and looking really impactful as a bigger running back. I think that duo of Achane and Gordon is going to be very solid for years to come if the Dolphins don't blow up their team. But this was just a really bad game to watch. I didn't watch the first half of it, but I got to tune into the second half. Deebo Samuel got that really nice 20-yard touchdown catch, but Mariota looked really weird all game. He was making some good throws, but then you could tell it wasn't really great rhythm all game. They weren't really driving the way you'd want this team to. And he made that terrible interception throw where he threw it into double coverage with a cornerback guarding old Zach Ertz on a crossing route. Never want to throw that kind of ball, especially in overtime as a backup quarterback, playing very well for the whole game. And the Miami Dolphins would go to 4 wins on the year, and I was sneaky saying the Dolphins might end around 500. Coming up, they have the Saints and the Jets, so that could be another 2 wins to lead them to 4 wins in a row for the Dolphins. Don't be surprised if the Dolphins, McDaniel saves his coaching job in the second half of that year, or in the second half of the year. One of the weirdest games of the week, in my opinion. What are the playoffs? I don't know. We're the Dolphins. Yeah. Hey, maybe one day. Maybe with no Tua. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough though, Miami Vice, for the Dolphins to get back there. But it just feels like you're always in this range where you're gonna start off so bad and then have to fight your way back later, and it's never enough. So yeah, it's unfortunate, Miami Vice. One of the weirdest games of the week. It felt like the Atlanta Falcons were in control of this game. Bijan Robinson almost had a hat trick in the first half, but then they brought Tyler Algier in, of course, from the 1-yard line, so they didn't want to give Bijan the hat trick. Instead, Algier got the touchdown, but they were up 21-10 at the end of the first half, and I really thought that the Falcons were going to run away with this game until Michael Penix went down. He was having a very solid game, 13 of 16, 175 yards. The offense looked in real good rhythm because they were relying heavily on Bijan Robinson. Bijan was in the passing game. Drake London was the main receiver. It's everything you want for the Falcons to find success. And then to start the second half, Penix goes down with an injury. Kirk Cousins comes in, and this team does exactly what the worst coach teams in football do, which is what we've said all year about the Atlanta Falcons and Raheem Morris, and they abandon the run game when they're winning the game in the second half. It made absolutely no sense to watch this team completely abandon their run and abandon the schemes that have been working all game. Gave Bryce Young the ball in better field position, and Bryce Young had an incredible game. 31 of 45. He was running around the pocket. He was moving with his legs, extending plays. I want to give a big shout out because it feels like every single time that we say Bryce Young is on the verge of losing his job in Carolina and not becoming a starting quarterback again, he has a legacy game. I swear this happens every single time. But 448 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions for Bryce Young. Very, very good game, and I do want to give a big shout out. Teteroa McMillan looked incredible. He looked finally like why you drafted him with the 8th overall pick in the draft. 8 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, 12 targets. Big touchdown by Xavier Legette late in this game. Rico Dowdle got receiving work, got the rushing work. The Falcons, you could tell their whole game plan was to not let Rico Dowdle beat them, which is how Panthers have been winning a lot of their games recently. So Bryce Young said, I bet if you're just gonna rush 3-4 guys on me, and you're going to focus so heavily when we're running the ball, Bryce Young beat him. And he came in and beat them. Kirk Cousins looked horrible. The Falcons abandoned the run when Kirk Cousins come in to play the Kirk Cousins offense, and it's like, it is such bad coaching by the Atlanta Falcons. This is a team where on paper they have taken skill players with the 7th pick, with the 8th pick, with the 4th pick in Kyle Pitts. They brought in Darnell Mooney, who's a great wide receiver too. They just took 2 defensive players in the first round this past draft. They traded a first to get another guy. And they're 3-7 after losing both games to Carolina this year. That is unacceptable coaching. If I am the Atlanta Falcons general manager, I'm firing Raheem Morris as soon as this morning. I cannot believe the coaching that we are watching from this Atlanta Falcons, especially when the couple of times Kirk Cousins has come in and they completely start abandoning the run. And he is so predictable when it looks like in this Falcons offense. He doesn't want to be there. You can see it. It's just not good. I'm very disappointed in this Falcons team. I had them possibly competing for the top of the NFC South this year because I thought on paper they had everything that you would want on this offense, and they prioritized their defense with defensive-minded coaches. Thought it was going to be a blessing in disguise, but Raheem Morris and that coaching staff has done a horrendous job this year, in my opinion, leading the Falcons to a 3-7 record. And the Carolina Panthers, in Week 11, the Carolina Panthers are a better football team on paper than the Kansas City Chiefs. And I cannot believe I'm saying that out loud, but shout out to Carolina, 6-5, making a playoff push. Great game for Carolina, great comeback, overtime win. Kirk could have won that game a couple times, but they had no offensive rhythm in overtime at all. Probably the game of the week this week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen having his best game of the season, his MVP week. 3 touchdowns passing, 3 touchdowns rushing. Unfortunate for all James Cook fantasy owners. You'd love to see James Cook get in the end zone one of those times, but Josh Allen said, I'm taking it myself. Now, I want to say, a lot of people call for, Sean McDermott to get fired throughout the past couple of years. A lot of people could talk about this receiving room. Tyrell Shavers and Gabe Davis are leading this receiving room in 2025 for the Bills, especially after all the playoff lack of success they've had. Keon Coleman was a healthy scratch because he was late to a meeting on Friday. Khalil Shakir, their normal number 1 guy, actually had 1 catch for -3 yards. If you were to look at this really on paper, you would really think that the Buffalo Bills did not win this game. But they did, because Josh Allen played so well. And I gotta say, Baker, you were maybe my MVP favorite through the first 5 weeks of the year. You have not been as good since then. He's been really good at utilizing his legs. I want to give him credit for that. I think his running ability has gotten so much better since he's become a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. But some of his accuracy on over-the-middle throws to guys like Egbuka, to Cade Otton, I would have loved to see Cade Otton get utilized more. There's a lot of throws in this game that I thought Baker could have had, should have made, and they could have taken advantage of more defensive liabilities early on in this game, and they didn't. And it felt like they were always playing catch-up, and the Buffalo Bills just stayed with their foot on the gas pedal and did not look back. Big shout-out, by the way, to the new RB1 in Tampa Bay, Sean Tucker, number 44, 19 carries, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a couple catches. He had a 3-touchdown game for Sean Tucker. Really big game, especially with Bucky Irving going down. I love Rashad White. I know that a lot of people were picking him up earlier in fantasy when Bucky Irving was down, but Rashad White has really not looked good or as efficient runner over the past couple weeks. Sean Tucker, explosive, fast, big guy. I mean, he really is the full package. Sean Tucker, when you look at a running back, he's 5'10", 205. Shout out Syracuse University. But man, he is a solid player, Sean Tucker. I hope that he gets utilized more next week. I know Tampa Bay has a really easy schedule coming up. Oh, never mind. They have the Rams next, but then after that, Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, Dolphins, Panthers to end the year. I do expect Tampa Bay to be one of those teams that is going to run away with this division in the second half of the year. But big shout out to the Bills. After losing a couple weird games in a row, they lost to the Dolphins. Weird loss to the Falcons earlier in the year, but even like that Chiefs game felt like their Super Bowl. Big bounce back game for the Bills. I thought their coaching was good. I thought their schemes to let Josh Allen and James Cook kind of dominate the run was good. They just really got to fix this defense. I think that the Bills' ceiling is going to be reliant on their run-stopping ability and their just front seven on defense. The Tennessee Titans lost at home to bring them to 1-9, 0-5 at home. Unfortunate for Titans fans, if you've been to any home game, you have not seen them win yet. Texans won this game very late. They came all the way back just to hit the field goal with 1:35 left, give the ball to the Titans to win the game, and unfortunately, Cam Ward just hasn't developed into that guy as fast as the Titans would have wanted him to, but when this is the team around him, can you blame him that Gunnar Helm is their wide receiver one on the day? Titans, you're just not going to find success. I apologize. You're not going to find success if you're running the ball 17 times, throwing it 37 times, and Gunnar Helm is your wide receiver one. you're just going to have some problems. But I want to give a big shout out. This was a terrible game. But I want to give a big shout out to Davis Mills. He keeps finding ways to win these games, and I think that might be the most crucial part for the Texans, is that C.J. Stroud goes down with an injury, and now you've won 2 games in a row after only losing by 3 points to the best defense in football. Texans have sneaky gotten themselves back into the playoff hunt. I don't think they're going to go as far as catching the Indianapolis Colts. I actually don't even think they're going to catch the Jacksonville Jaguars, because the Jaguars, we'll talk about them in a second, but big win this week. But Davis Mills has brought just different energy to this team that they really needed. He extends the plays a little bit more that I've noticed comparing to C.J. Stroud, and he also just feeds Nico Collins, which I love to see. Your backup quarterback, you've got one of the best wide receiver ones in football, or arguably a top 10 wide receiver one in football. Give him the ball. Give him the ball, man. Nico Collins, 9 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown. He was catching the ball over everyone. But my favorite thing about the Texans game, they never got away completely from the run, even though it wasn't working. In that third quarter, they kept trying to utilize it. They kept getting Woody Marks in the game. Nick Chubb, Dare Ogunbowale, I think his name is. Really like the utilization of the running backs for the Texans, and how, Davis Mills really was staring down his main wide receiver targets in Nico and Schultz. They should have won this game by more, but weird division games can always turn into weird defensive-minded games, and no turnovers, just a lot of punts in this game. Not no turnovers. Tennessee fumbled the ball a couple of times. I did forget about that. Will Anderson had the fumble recovery. And yeah, the Texans walk away with a 16-13 win over the Tennessee Titans. Another great one-possession game that came down to the wire. I really thought the Vikings were going to come back and win this game when J.J. McCarthy threw that touchdown to Jordan Addison to put them up 17-16. But kick returns. Bears have a wonderful kick return with 40 seconds to go in the game, which brings them almost into field goal range right from that kick return. They got it down. Cairo Santos was about this far away from losing that Vikings team, losing the Bears the game, but the Chicago Bears in Ben Johnson's first year as a head coach are 7-3 in a 19-17 on the road division win against Minnesota. This is huge. This is huge for Chicago, guys. And the funny thing is I don't even think Caleb is playing that great. But if you see Monangai, 12 carries, DeAndre Swift, 21 carries. They went into this game with a run-first mentality, the Chicago Bears, which I honestly did not expect at all. With knowing how much the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores loves to blitz, and how much pressure and how great of a schematic blitzer Brian Flores is, did not expect to see the Bears try and dominate this game on the run, but 140 yards rushing, a touchdown. Caleb Williams really had to game manage a lot of this game until the end, where he had to win them the game, and he got them in field goal range enough to win the game. You would just love to see this receiver room playing better for Chicago. I will say that. Like Rome Odunze, only 2 catches. DJ Moore, 1 catch. Colston Loveland, 3 catches. You just want to see the star players that they took high draft picks on. I know both Rome and Loveland were the 10th overall pick. You just want to see them more involved than a run-first team if you're the Chicago Bears. But I'm sure no Chicago Bears fan is complaining about the fact that they're 7-3 right now, where they're only 2 wins away from being an above 500 team for the first time in a while for the Chicago Bears. As for the Vikings, every single week I watch J.J. McCarthy, the more I think that this team would be so much better if they had Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, or even Kirk Cousins back there. Jefferson looked really frustrated majority of this game. Jordan Addison didn't have a catch until the final drive of the game. It's not the schemes, because we've seen the schemes under Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores work in the past for the past 5 years now. JJ just doesn't throw the ball well. He throws the ball really high a lot of the time. He throws it high and fast. He does not have any touch on his deep balls. He looks panicked a lot of the times in the pocket. He didn't rush one time. Not one time did he step out of the pocket to use his legs this game. He threw the 2 interceptions. Obviously, he led them in that fourth quarter comeback, but that feels like what the Vikings have to do that in these wins. And it's not a recipe for success for the Vikings to have to fight their way back into games with J.J. McCarthy, as opposed to what worked for Sam Darnold last year or J.J. McCarthy in Michigan, which was getting a lead early and maintaining and game managing. And until J.J. learns how to get a lead early, I just don't think they're going to find a lot of success under J.J. McCarthy for at least this season and maybe going into next season. With his injuries, his throwing motion is not really that great. It's slow. He doesn't use his legs as much. He's not a big guy. There's a lot of flaws, in my opinion, with this Minnesota Vikings team. I will say it was cool to see Aaron Jones come back from that injury and take over the RB1 role. He plays a lot of first quarter snaps for this team. They love to use Aaron Jones in that first quarter, run the ball straight down the middle with Aaron Jones to start the game. But if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I'm trying to get Justin Jefferson involved in the first quarter, not Aaron Jones as much, because JJ's got to get into a good mentality if the Vikings are going to find any success winning. Jameis Winston almost did it. He almost went into MetLife and won the game, but the Packers won 27-20. I want to give a big shout out, by the way. It feels like every time Malik Willis has to come in for Jordan Love, they find some offensive success. It felt very similarly here. I know he barely came in, but he threw that incredible touchdown pass to Christian Watson. Josh Jacobs went down with the injury, did not return in this game. Emmanuel Wilson looked fantastic, which tells me, which we should all know, Matt LaFleur is a very good run schemer. I know he's been a little inconsistent this year with his play calls. Like, for example, against the Eagles, we ripped him last week for his play calls, but against a team like the Giants, who expect Matt LaFleur to be a very good run schemer, and he did a great job with that. And shout out Christian Watson for making 2 incredible touchdown catches in this game to basically win the Packers this game. Sad to see, by the way, Jameis Winston have a chance at the end there and him throw an interception in the end zone. It's the Jameis Winston effect, and I know every single person watching that kind of knew what was coming with Jameis, but the energy he brought, I thought he did a great job all game. I'm going to be honest, I thought Jameis did a great job all day. They really tried to establish the run game. Tyrone Tracy, 19 carries. Devin Singletary, unfortunately, stole his 2 touchdowns at the goal line with both 1-yard carries. But overall, I'm starting to see progression from the Giants. I know they are 2-9, but I wouldn't look at this loss as a bad thing at all. First time Winston's played all year. No Cam Scatterbo, no Malik Neighbors. They don't even have any of their starting players on offense, and yet they still dropped 20 points on arguably the best defense in football. And it took Jordan Love throwing lucky touchdown to Christian Watson and a weird touchdown to Josh Wiley, I think his name is, the tight end. Packers did what they needed to do. This was a big win, but Jameis had a chance at the end to win them that game and threw that touchdown on the out route. Made me sad to watch that. As a Jameis fan, you never want to see Jameis blow the game like that, but yeah. Not much to say about this game. I didn't get to watch any of it on Red Zone because why would we? 35-6 win for the Jaguars over the Chargers. Chargers, I mean, what is going on in this offense? Their offensive line is so hurt, and you could tell that they could not get a run game going at all. Jaguars' whole thing was, let's just put pressure on Herbert make awkward throws deep or to his guys, and not really let them get in any sort of running momentum, which if you're a Jim Harbaugh fan, he is a run-first coach. And if you can't run the ball in the Jim Harbaugh offense, Herbert's going to struggle. And Herbert seems to struggle the most against this Jacksonville Jaguars team. Big shout out to the running back duo in Jacksonville, and shout out to Liam Cohen. I thought he coached a great game. I thought he's been a great coach this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Bishal Tutin, 15 carries, 74 yards and a touchdown. Travis Etienne, 19 carries, 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dominated the front lines in this game all day long. Whether it was the defensive line, Jaguars dominated the D line the offensive line of the Chargers, and the Jaguars offensive line absolutely dominated the Chargers D line as well. And when you win the upfront battle, it's going to be hard for a team like the Chargers to come fight and win this game. Apologize to all Lad McConkey fantasy owners. 3 catches, 13 yards, only 4 points on the week. After the big couple games he's had, you never like to see that. I started Quentin Johnson in one of my leagues, and he had put up another donut game. Don't love to see that. Last take about this game before I move on. Jacoby Myers, it's funny they trade, BTJ goes down with an injury, Travis Hunter's out for the year. They trade a 4th and a 6th for Jacoby Myers. He immediately has to step into this wide receiver 1 role, and I think he's actually done a really good job. As in his couple games with the Jaguars, I think him and T.Law have really connected. He's a good route runner, he's safe hands, so that's kind of all you can ask for out of a guy that just got traded to become your wide receiver 1 immediately when really he was supposed to be your wide receiver 3 for the rest of the year. Jacoby Myers looks very comfortable in this offense, and I think he's probably much happier than when he was with the Raiders. Oh, tough game. I watched every single snap of this game. The Rams, Seahawks, 21-19 in division win. It is incredible to me how Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions. Mind you, I've been a Sam Darnold defender all year and even last year. Sam Darnold threw 4 really bad passes yesterday, and all 4 of them happened to get picked off. So unfortunate for Sam Darnold to basically lose his team the game in LA, because I thought the offense was doing all right. I thought Kenneth Walker was having one of his best rushing games. I thought Charbonnet was good involved. JSN had a couple incredible catches, but when AJ Barner was getting majority of the targets in this game earlier on, it felt like it wasn't the exact scheme you would want to beat the Rams. You would want it to be more to your main guys, deep ball threats. I feel like the Rams lose because a guy like Rashid Shaheed could get open downfield, and it opens up the offense more underneath. But it felt like the Rams were allowing a lot of the underneath passes. And then Darnold made 4 really bad underneath passes, which all led to interceptions. Matthew Stafford had a very, very efficient game, 15 of 28, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Seahawks defense did not get the pressure you want on Matthew Stafford this game. 0 sacks. Actually, both teams, neither one of them got sacked. If you're Seattle with your quarterback struggling, you really got to get a couple. You got to get a couple hits on Matthew Stafford, and without getting any, I thought it was very tough for the Seahawks to keep themselves in this game. I cannot believe in that 4th quarter they gave themselves a chance. Defense made a great 3-and-out stop. Sam Darnold actually drove them technically in a field goal range, which technically Jason Myers did hit that 61-yarder the last time he was in SoFi to beat the Rams. Unfortunately, it was wide, I believe, right, and it did not go in. So the Rams win this at-home game. Sam Darnold now has been really bad in majority of the high-pressure games that he's played in over the past 2 years since he's become a, say, top 12, 15 quarterback in the NFL. It's going to be a very, very important game when the Rams come to Seattle on what looks like December 18th. So exactly basically a month from today is when the Rams go to Seattle. That's going to be a very important game for Sam Darnold to prove himself as a guy that is not just a big game choker. But overall, good win for the Rams. They really needed this one. The Rams now go to 8-2. They got the Bucs next, the Panthers, Cardinals, Lions, Seahawks. This is, in my opinion, maybe the team we should be talking about as the best team in the NFC right now. Rams continue to look good. Stafford looks good. Puka looks good. Adams had 1 catch, 1 touchdown. Shout out, by the way, Kyron Williams. 12 carries, 91 yards compared to Blake Corum's 8 carries, 10 yards. I know he had that big 34-yard run, but even outside of that, Kyron Williams is a very good running back, and he needs to really stop getting disrespected. I feel like every year I never hear Kyron Williams' name brought up in running backs, and every year he's a top 12 running back in terms of, usage and efficiency. Jacoby Brissett threw the most completions in an NFL game in the history of football. No one in the NFL has thrown 47 completions in a game until Jacoby Brissett did yesterday. And they lost by 19. And they still lost by 19 points. The Niners got right into it. They had a 99-yard kick return, which led to that 1-yard Christian McCaffrey touchdown to start the game. They followed that right up with a beautiful 30-yard touchdown to George Kittle and never looked back. They scored 13 points in the first quarter, 12 in the second, 10 in the third. Great first game back for Brock Purdy. It makes me so happy as a Brock Purdy fan and a defender of Purdy, where I've argued that he's a better quarterback than I think most people would say in the NFL. 19 of 26, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, beautiful QBR. He allowed Christian McCaffrey to dominate the run. He passed the ball to George Kittle, which we know Brock Purdy loves George Kittle. And their connection is fantastic. He's got great touch on those outside passes to Kittle. And Kittle, if it's hitting his hands, he's going to the ground with the ball every single time. Christian McCaffrey hat trick. Shout out to Christian McCaffrey, people that drafted him in fantasy. I mean, he's a league winner, if not the league winner for majority of fantasy teams. I do want to say, made me very sad as I'll do a little bit of my own fantasy football stuff. Like 10 minutes before the 10 minutes before this game, or the game started in general, I made a trade to replace my wide receiver 1 in my starting lineup in fantasy. My wide receiver 1 before that, I swear to you all, was Michael Wilson, who dropped 15 receptions for 185 yards, which is actually the most yards any player has had this year in a game, which is crazy to say, but shout out Michael Wilson. 15 catches, 185 yards with Jacoby Brissett. When you throw the ball 57 times, I would hope one of your guys has 15 catches. But Trey McBride's still a great game, 10 for 115. Greg Dortch, 6 for 66 with a touchdown. It was all garbage time, but I want to give a big shout out to the Cardinals for not letting up. I really like Jonathan Gannon as a coach. I think when he gets guys that are not Jacoby Brissett, Bam Knight, and Greg Dortch to rely on, I think that this Cardinals team will be good under Jonathan Gannon. I think they're a good defensive team. It's just they had really bad starts to the game, and when you're a team like the Cardinals and you have a bad start, it's going to be very hard to find momentum to win the game, but I can't believe that in 2025, Jacoby Brissett, almost 2026, Jacoby Brissett just threw the most completions in an NFL game in the history of the National Football League. Ravens-Browns. Where to go from here? The Browns defense is great. I know that they couldn't stop the run, and I don't blame them. Mark Andrews had that crazy fake tush-push 35-yard touchdown run around the right side. I can't believe that actually happened. Shout out Mark Andrews for a fake tush-push run around the right side. Shout out John Harbaugh for finally being a good coach for the first time in his, for the past 3 years. But Lamar Jackson throws 2 picks. Dylan Gabriel leads them to a 16-10 lead going into the third quarter. Goes down in concussion protocol. And as we all were excited about, Shedeur Sanders finally got to enter the game and show his first minutes as an NFL starting quarterback. He looked terrible. As a big Shedeur backer and someone that I loved Shedeur going into the draft, I thought he would be a starting quarterback in this league. He looked horrible. And it really, really, really frustrates me how this Cleveland Browns team has gone about the whole Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel situation. He actually did say after the game it was his first time throwing any sort of a meaningful pass to Jerry Jeudy since he's been a part of the Browns. That is terrible organizational management. I don't care who you are. If you didn't draft this guy, if the GM made the call to draft this guy, you gotta give Shedeur Sanders some first team reps over Dylan Gabriel. Just some. Or at least make sure he's got a connection with these guys to where if something like this happens, Dylan Gabriel is 5'11", 205. He is not a big guy. He went down in concussion protocol off a hit that I did not think was even that crazy. You gotta give young guys the reps. And he said that he didn't give Shedeur the reps over Gabriel because Gabriel was already a young guy and he needed the reps immediately. I don't see it. I don't see what... I hated it. I hated watching Shedeur go in, and it looked like he was like frustrated the whole time. It looked like he couldn't get any rhythm. He threw a bad interception early on, and he got no motivation talk from his coaches. After the game, it really, really frustrated me to see Shedeur on the sideline with his hands like this over his head. Stefanski like standing there looking at him and no one going, and the only person that went up to Shedeur to go encourage him that he's okay was a player on the Ravens who he played college football with. It's like that is such, how are you going to let a quarterback that has so much media presence and so much impact on your team have such a bad game, and as a coach, as his mentor coach, you're not going to be the guy to try and uplift him after the game. It really, really bothers me seeing stuff like that. And the Ravens were able to score off of it. Shedeur had a couple really bad plays. gave the Ravens good field position, and the Ravens scored the 13 points unanswered in the fourth quarter once Gabriel went down to win this game. I was really hype for the first 2 hours of this game because I thought the Ravens were going to lose this game to the Browns on the road, which would have been huge for my Pittsburgh Steelers. But unfortunately, the Ravens 13 points unanswered after Shedeur has a really bad outing. I will say he had a couple cool throws. He had a couple good throws on the run. But overall, 2.4 QBR is not going to win you a football game. And Dylan Gabriel, before that, having an 11.4 QBR, is also not going to win you a football game. So, tough loss for the Browns. I would have loved to see Shedeur be just more uplifted by this organization. I don't understand why not. Another arguable game of the week, Broncos-Chiefs, 22-19 win for the Broncos at home. This was a game the Chiefs could have won. There was a lot that went right, in my opinion, for the Chiefs. For example, Travis Kelce had a very, very good game. He's starting to find it feels like Travis Kelce is going to retire at the end of this year. I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels like this is Kelce's last year. So it makes me happy to see that now that we're in November, he's kind of realizing, I think he has 3 months left of football if they make the Super Bowl. So I think that he's starting to finally find some youth in his in his step. Now Rashee Rice had a solid game, 6 for 38. I will continue saying it. Don't understand why the Chiefs did not bite on Breece Hall at the trade deadline, because this team does not have a running offense. Or if they feel like Kareem Hunt going 13 for 59 and a touchdown is a running threat, it's not. The Broncos completely allowed the running game to beat them this game, which allowed Mahomes to not get in any sort of rhythm with his deep balls. The only time he actually hit a deep ball all day was the Tyquan Thornton 61-yard pass. Penix is out for the season now, Kid Card. Is that officially ruled? Is that true? I did not realize the injury was that bad. Wow, yeah. Here's the report right here. Potential season-ending knee injury. Wow, I did not realize that it was that bad of an injury. So thank God they held on to Kirk Cousins for $160 million. So now that they have a starting quarterback that they're paying.
I'm depressed.
Yes. I'll probably, can we wait 20-ish minutes? I'll come get you. Sweet. 100% though. Kirk go chain season, which is funny, by the way, Kid Card, because Kirk looked horrible when he came in yesterday.
Question, Hunter. What was the score for Kansas City Chiefs again?
22-19 loss in Denver.
Now, question. Are they still on the wild card for potential playoffs?
Potential. They are not in the playoffs right now. They are looking outside. If I were to go to the playoff standings, I believe they're 9th. Yeah, they're 9th at 5-5 right now. So they gotta win at least one game. They gotta hope the Jaguars lose a couple games. They gotta hope the Chargers lose a couple games, which I honestly think both of them will.
Okay.
But Chiefs have a tough schedule coming up still. The Colts are the best team technically in the AFC coming up. Cowboys are never a team that you really want to play because who knows what the Cowboys are going to look like on a week-to-week basis.
What about the Bills, I mean?
Well, they lost to the Bills.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
They lost to the Bills, which is a bad loss. These two back-to-back losses are bad for the Chiefs because these are two games that you really expected the defense to take over and then Mahomes to find a way to win games.
Right.
But the Chiefs guys, if you remember, they were 11-0 in one-possession games last year.
They were.
They're 0-5 in one-possession games this year, which I think is interesting. They're not having that referee luck all of a sudden, and now they're starting to lose games. But if they find their way into the playoffs, I will still say it's going to be hard for me to pick other teams over the Chiefs in a one-game elimination.
1,000%.
But this is a couple-game stretch now where you start to get a little bit worried about the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 3rd in their division, and they keep losing.
Honestly, it's just like what you were saying earlier with Travis and all that. I think his mindset now is on retirement, and on top of that, he is, engaged now to Taylor Swift, so I feel like that's also on his mind, so I knew it was bound to happen.
Yeah. But yeah, tough loss. They should have won this game. Especially with no Pat Surtain back there. The Broncos defense is still just dominating, y'all. Dominating performances from this Denver Broncos defense. I saw someone say, this Broncos team makes me think if Zach Wilson went 9-2 with that Jets team a couple years ago when Rodgers went down. It really doesn't feel that far off. This defense has absolutely won them majority of their games. Bo Nix has, it's not that he's playing bad. He's finally finding his step. He didn't make any big mistakes this game, which I think was huge. They really tried to get RJ Harvey going in this run game. They could not at all. The Chiefs defense shut down the run immediately every time. I want to give a big shout out though to the drafting of the Denver Broncos, specifically with their wide receivers. Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, very, very good wide receivers. They traded Vele to start the season, I believe, for like a 4th or 5th round pick. Just wondering, I saw there's a discount on this It's a 10 series. Yes, there is. It's a $50 discount. So they are normally $200 boxes. They are on sale to $150 right now, right? If you're interested, yeah, they're $50 off boxes right now. It's a 10 series 3 boxes. If you would like to buy one, we can rip one right now, my friend. But yeah, big win for the Broncos on the road. That last game-winning drive to have Will Lutz kick the game-winning field goal was huge. And just, yeah, overall big win for the Broncos. They go to 9-2 to keep up with the 9-2. Is it the same on the shelf? What are the new rankings for the 20? Ooh, that's a good question, Kid Card. I'll have to do my rankings soon. I'll go double check on that, Ray, but I think so. I had 2 boxes sitting with me. That's why. But that's a great. There was like 8 and we bought like 4. All right, let me go double check, Ray, to see if there is. But I just know that, yeah, I believe it is the same ones. And then I will get into the Eagles-Lions game, but I want to go check that out first. So uno momento. Last but not least, guys, Eagles take down the Lions. Initial reactions from this game? Oh, no, Ray, no worries at all. Always ask questions, please. That's what I'm here for. I just don't know, because a lot of the stuff with the retail side, we just, I just get the remaining boxes of them. So I cannot confirm if case hits or not. 0. These are the last 3 we have. Yep. Okay. How are you, Frank? Oh, fired. That Knicks jacket's awesome, dude. Yeah, last but not least, Eagles take down the Detroit Lions, 16-9 at home in Philadelphia. First and foremost, I said that the Lions were going to have to win this game on the upfront battle. They did not win the upfront battle. I thought the Eagles' defensive line had an incredible game overall, especially with how good the Lions' offensive line has been all year. Jahmyr Gibbs could not get anything going on the run game. David Montgomery could not when he came in. I did not really love the run plays that Mr. Campbell, after taking over the play calling, I was not really excited about the running plays that he was calling for his guys. I felt like a lot of shotgun runs, a lot of runs that didn't put them in position to gain momentum before they passed the line of scrimmage. And I don't know. Feels interesting. This new Lions offense under Dan Campbell coaching just feels different, and I don't really like it so far. I think the Eagles won that upfront battle all day long. They won the upfront battle on the offensive line, 26 carries for 83 yards for Saquon Barkley. They had 148 rushing yards, which exactly doubled the Detroit Lions. That is a recipe for success. To beat the Lions is to outrun them. Yes, Kid Card, I would agree. The Lions definitely are missing Ben Johnson more and more because officially, the Chicago Bears are a better football team than the Detroit Lions. Can't believe I'm saying that going into week 11, but the Chicago Bears have a better record than the Detroit Lions, and I think they're actually winning the division. Am I correct on that? Are the Chicago Bears atop the NFC North? I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but yeah, the Chicago Bears are leading the NFC North right now. It's 7-3 with the Packers 1 game behind because of the tie, and the Lions 1 game behind as well. But overall, watching them throw the ball at A.J. Brown, I think it was 9 times in the first half. It felt so because of what he was saying. It felt so. They threw him a screen pass, and I was like, oh my goodness. It's so funny how these guys that, the A.J. Browns of the world, the guys that always come in with dramatic, points about the offense or have something to say all the time, then they get the ball, and it doesn't even look good. It's like, It's so forced. Let the offense find its own rhythm. Let the offense do its thing, and your touches will come. You guys are 8-2 after just winning the Super Bowl. You don't have to complain as much as you are. Yes, Kid Card, that is the last point I was going to make about this game. Should have been able to give the ball back to the Lions, but brutal defensive pass interference was called on A.J. Brown. In my opinion, it was offensive pass interference if you were going to throw a flag. And then I can tell you it definitely was not defensive pass interference. It definitely was not defensive pass interference. If you're going to throw a flag there, it had to have been on A.J. Brown. He fully extended that arm, which you're not allowed to do. I understand the Lions player grabbing at it a little bit because the arm is extended. That's, once again, an illegal move from an offensive player. But to see Devontae Smith have 1 catch on 5 yards, A.J. Brown gets 11 targets. They primarily ran the ball. It made me very happy, by the way, to see the Eagles finally go back to just doing design QB runs to Jalen Hurts. I don't know why. Feels like over the past 4 to 5 weeks, they just completely abandoned these quarterback runs up the middle. They work. When Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are dominating the run, you can't beat this team. You can't. They have too good of an offensive line, too good of a coaching staff, and too much talent between those two guys to lose games. And that's not even talking about the fact that Tank Bigsby is an incredible backup. He has been incredible in this offense. He wears the ugly number 37 and looks so good when he's running with the ball. But all in all, really tough Sunday night game. You really would have wanted to see more explosive offensive plays, but the first half was so annoyingly boring with felt like they were just trying to feed A.J. Brown the whole time. The Lions could not get in any offensive rhythm, specifically running the ball, which really limits Dan Campbell-led offense. And then the second half, it was just more of the same stuff. 3-and-out punts, sacks, bad third down play calling. 0 for 5, I believe, for the Detroit Lions on fourth down opportunities. You guys know that's the Dan Campbell coaching way. And if you're going to go for it on fourth down and not convert 5 times, specifically like running it up the middle twice on 4th and 1 when they've been stuffing that all day long, don't really understand that play calling. But hey, shout out to the Eagles moving on to be 8-2, and still you got to call them one of the best teams in the NFC and in the entire NFL right now, because they won the Super Bowl last year and have lost 2 games since. And that, my friends, is going to do it for my NFL Sunday recap.